Guys, welcome into my official college football Week 5 reaction hot takes. Giving off 14 or 15 hot takes from the full day of action yesterday. Let's get right into it. Number one, of course, Georgia. Guys, I said it last week. Georgia isn't winning anything. They're not winning the SEC. I don't think they're making the playoff, and they're certainly not winning the national championship. I said before the season, Georgia would lose one regular season game, then they would lose the SEC championship to Alabama, they would have 2 losses, and they would end up in a New Year's Six bowl. And guys, the Missouri game, you're 30-point favorites. You're down by 10 points late in the third quarter. You know, the ESPN FPI giving Missouri a 70% chance to win. This Georgia team simply isn't good enough. The offense with Stetson Bennett lacks explosiveness. The defense, they've got a bunch of elite recruits, but they really don't have any superstars on that side of the ball. And say what you want about the SEC East, Georgia kind of does still have a tough schedule. Florida in a neutral site game. I know Florida hasn't been great. They might lose that one. At Mississippi State, versus Tennessee, although it is at home. Those are 3 games where Georgia might have a chance of losing. Yesterday, they've got to be knocked down to at least number 3 or number 4. All the analytics say it. We'll see if the AP voters actually do it. They come out and they end up beating Missouri. But my goodness, you're 30-point favorites and, you're losing the game late in the third quarter. Of course, we've seen a similar situation to this with Arkansas. We saw Arkansas losing to an FCS team, Missouri State, by 10 points in the fourth quarter, and they didn't drop at all. Because these AP voters, I don't even think they watch the games. They just look at the final score. Georgia, guys, they're not winning anything. I stand by that. It's just, it is too, there are so many warning signs with this football team. It's too obvious. We saw it against Kent State. Many people said, they're just playing with their food. They weren't interested. They go on the road to a team like Missouri, 30-point favorites, and they lay a complete egg. I'd be very worried if I was a Georgia fan. Brett Venables gives off warning signs. So guys, this hire by Oklahoma, let's not overreact to it, but Brett Venables is older. He's going to have a tough time recruiting, and the one thing he was brought in to fix, oh my goodness, TCU scores 27 points in the first quarter. They have 250 total yards of offense in the first quarter. This coming after Kansas State, and Adrian Martinez had 4 rushing touchdowns at Oklahoma. This could completely fall off the rails in Brett Venables' first year. Their next game is the rivalry game versus Texas. I'd be very concerned if I was an Oklahoma fan right now. Brett Venables came in to fix the defense, and the defense has somehow gotten worse under Brett Venables. Is Lincoln Riley a better defensive coordinator than... I'm kidding, guys. I'm kidding. But if I was an Oklahoma fan with this hire, with how old Brett Venables is, with his maybe inability to relate to some of the recruits, being an older coach, defensive-minded coach, we know how many teams are, looking for that Ryan Day, that Lincoln Riley, that offensive guru. Oklahoma goes the other way. We don't want to overreact. This is one of the annoying things with hiring a new coach. Even if they suck early, you kind of have to give them time. Like Nebraska gave Scott Frost time. If Oklahoma goes 7-5, they're going to keep Brett Venables. They're not going to fire him after 1 year. You have to give him time to implement his system. Next, we've got Clemson getting 2 wins. Very workmanlike performance against NC State. They were in total control of that game. But guys, also, we had Wake Forest beating FSU on the road in a top 25 matchup a week after Clemson beat Wake Forest on the road. So this is a major jolt for Clemson. Not only do they beat NC State, who's still going to be ranked, that we see Wake Forest beat FSU, so Clemson is going to have 2 ranked wins on their resume, and their defensive line finally steps up. They destroyed Devin Leary and that NC State team. I am a little bit suspect on just how good NC State is, and I am still suspect on Clemson's playmakers outside of Will Shipley. But we know Clemson, very good defense. Last week was an aberration versus Sam Hartman, mainly due to the amount of defenders and secondary players Clemson had out. This Clemson team is really, they have a legitimate argument, and I don't even think it's an argument. I think they should be ranked ahead of Michigan. Michigan has beaten absolutely no one. I don't think Maryland is as good as people think they are. And Clemson certainly at minimum, right now should be ranked 4th based off of their resume, based off of how DJ is improving each week, and that team overall with the defensive line, they're playing well. Number 4, still not buying Alabama's wide receivers. So Alabama ends up beating Arkansas in just a complete crazy game. The game, it felt like there were 3 games within one game. Bama goes up early with Bryce Young. The narrative is, Bama can throw again. They're fine. Bryce Young gets injured. Arkansas comes back. It's 28-23. And then Alabama has 3 70-yard touchdown runs late in that game. So guys, Bryce Young should be okay, but I'm still not buying. I think it was a situation where Arkansas, I'm not going to, Arkansas was ranked 20th. I'm not going to say that was a horrible spot for them to be, but this is a team that almost lost to an FCS team. We have to remember that. They just lost to an A&M team who looked terrible against Mississippi State. So Arkansas a little bit suspect, really outside of KJ Jefferson, especially Arkansas's defense, just not good enough. I still need to see a lot more from Alabama's wide receivers, in my opinion, and obviously a healthy Bryce Young. Number 5, Ohio State needs JSN. So I'm not going to take a lot of stock into that Ohio State performance against Rutgers. They won 49-10. They looked miserable. It didn't look like they wanted to be there. They just wanted to get the game over with. They need Trevion Henderson. They need JSN. It just adds a completely different dynamic to the offense. I know some people are worried that JSN might go the Nick Bosa route and, sit out because he could be a first-round pick. But I think if he was going to sit out, he already would have said it. It would have been announced. It sounds like they're just trying to be overly cautious because they already brought him back once against Toledo and he re-injured himself. So they're being overly cautious. If you're 40-point favorites against Rutgers, you're not going to play JSN. You're not going to play Trevion Henderson. Get those 2 guys back. Ohio State will be fine. That was a boring game, and it looked like Ohio State just didn't want to be there. Number 6, shout out to James Madison. How about James Madison? Maybe they'll be ranked. They'll at least receive some votes. Absolutely destroying Texas State. They were 23-point favorites. A lot of people said that's too much. The line gets bet down to 21. And they end up winning 40-13. They actually were winning 40-7, and then Texas State scored a garbage time touchdown. I will say James Madison has a hard schedule, and I actually think they lose to Arkansas State because Arkansas State is a good team. They're underrated. I believe that game is happening next week, unless James Madison has a bye. But shout out to James Madison. This is what we need in college football. We need teams like this to be ranked. We need Cinderella stories. I looked at their schedule. I would be shocked if they somehow went undefeated. I think they'll probably lose 3 games, honestly. They have a tough one, but it would be great for college football if they somehow managed to go undefeated. Number 7, Pitt was always overranked. Guys, I said it last week. Why don't we just drop Pittsburgh outside of the top 25? The AP voters lack nuance. They lack understanding. They kept Pittsburgh inside the top 25, and they got caught with their pants down here, folks. Let's just call it what it is. Pittsburgh, horrible performance. I knew it would happen. I said to take Georgia Tech plus the 24. The line gets bet down to 22. And then Georgia frickin' Tech wins the game outright just after firing their head coach. It's unbelievable. Pittsburgh, not good. That huge win that Tennessee got against Pittsburgh, I think that's got to be at least somewhat invalidated. Pittsburgh is not a good team. I'm sorry. They're just not. Number 8, Texas football with an impressive win. So, guys, this was something that was glossed over a little bit. Texas beating West Virginia. Hudson Card, an amazing performance, and I would imagine Texas is going to go back to Quinn Ewers because of the upside, possibly next week, against Oklahoma. But, the game control for Texas in that game against West Virginia when they were, 7-8 point favorites with a backup quarterback. And really, Bijan Robinson didn't do much. It was all Hudson Card. That is an impressive win for Texas where they completely controlled that entire game and easily covered the spread. Moving on, Colorado, yes, the perfect season is well, and it is alive. Colorado, 17.5 point underdogs. They lose by 23 yesterday. They are the worst Power 5 team by far. They're not favored in any of their remaining games, and they very well could, probably likely go 0-12. Their best chance at winning a game actually might be this week versus California. They are 0-5 right now. Number 10, Michigan and Iowa are who we thought. So yeah, this game went exactly as everybody thought. Michigan wins a low-scoring one. Iowa just has such an anemic offense. Michigan, I still really don't know what to make of them. J.J. McCarthy made some throws. I thought the Michigan offensive line was getting a really good push, especially on those 3rd and shorts. The 4th and shorts, that's a really good sign because Iowa has a good defense. But still, with Michigan maybe lacking a few playmakers, is Ronnie Bell, Cornelius Johnson, is that enough outside of Blake Corum? Maybe J.J. McCarthy using his legs, but Michigan, they're going to have that major matchup with Penn State coming up soon. And that's going to be a really, really good game. But I just think this is exactly how I thought the Michigan-Iowa game would go. Lower scoring, Michigan ends up pulling away and winning. That's exactly what happened. Iowa's offense is just so bad. Number 11, the Big Ten West is in a bad spot. So guys, I had been saying it for multiple weeks. The one thing the Big Ten West could not afford is Minnesota losing. Wisconsin sucks. Iowa sucks. You need Minnesota to keep winning. And the whole thing with Mo Ibrahim dressing for the game, he didn't play. Aiden O'Connell ends up playing. He doesn't play well, but Purdue comes in and they upset Minnesota. Disaster scenario for the Big Ten. Horrible. Minnesota will be unranked now, and Minnesota still has that major game at Penn State. That's probably another loss, so they're going to have a minimum of 2 losses. Is Illinois football the best team in the Big Ten West at this point? Should they be ranked? That would be crazy. Number 12, Michigan State is screwed. Yes, Michigan State losing to Maryland. They're going to maybe miss a bowl. They might go 5-7. I believe right now they're 2-3. They're going to lose to Ohio State. That's 4 losses. They're going to lose to Penn State. That's 5 losses. They're probably going to lose to Michigan. That's 6 losses. Yeah, they're on the road at Michigan. They're not winning that game. So that's a guarantee of 6 losses, I would say. They may finish 5-7. That's a major stain on that program right after giving Mel Tucker a massive extension. He's making the same amount of money per year that Ryan frickin' Day is. Not good. Matt Campbell is just not good enough. Guys, I know Matt Campbell gets rumored in all these coaching jobs and the Nebraska job and stuff like that. Matt Campbell loses another game to Kansas. Now he's 3-2. This Iowa State team does not inspire any confidence. I don't know, man. I think at what point do we start thinking Matt Campbell's a little overrated? I know he resurrected Iowa State football, but still, this is a team that it's not like they've been. I mean, last year was disappointing. This year they're 3-2. You're in a tough Big 12. You're probably going to finish 7-5. 14, kind of random here, but Toledo is the best team in the MAC. They were so good yesterday. All the analytics say it. I think they're going to start separating themselves in the MAC. If you can do it right now, I would bet on Toledo in games against the spread. They are a juggernaut. And then 15, the Heisman officially is wide open. We saw C.J. Stroud struggle. We saw Bryce Young get injured and have limited stats. Caleb Williams had a decent game, but I would say right now, guys, the Heisman race is open for anyone to fully grab control of it. There's not a favorite right now, in my opinion. Some guys have put up good stats, but still, you take a look at everything. Heisman is completely open, and whoever wants it can take it. But in my opinion, right now, it is wide open. So, guys, those are my top 15 Week 5 hot takes. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description.